Hey, Shalom, everybody. Welcome to the Way Remnant. I'm Jeff Brandon.
And I'm Miranda Brandon.
And welcome to Torah Tuesday. I've been kind of mellowing out a little bit.
Yeah, very mild.
Yeah, oh yeah. I really want to explode, but we're just going to keep it down a notch tonight, guys. Torah Tuesday. We're so excited that you're here live on YouTube. So we've seen definitely a lot of folks that normally tune in and still trying to transition into YouTube.
And some people not only left Facebook but left YouTube.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of people leaving different social media platforms. We are still waiting and anticipating Lighthouse. So Adam, let's get that rolling, buddy. So good stuff there. But we're happy to be here tonight, guys. We missed last week. We have been having ups and downs and outs and ins and all kind of fun stuff going on. So we're blessed to be here. And to be truthful though, some of these teachings, it's not that you can just throw them together in a week too. There's a lot of study that goes behind these, and it's you want to make sure that you're presenting accurate information, and so that's I think Miranda, people that normally do YouTube, they're like, I gotta have something out every week. I gotta have something go. Well, let's maybe dial that back a little bit and make sure that what we're putting out is really good quality. The word is really good, and we just want to make sure things are as they should be. So I'm okay with taking a little extra time and not rushing things, and then having things maybe of a questionable nature. So we're being held accountable by Yah for everything that comes out of our mouth. So we want to make sure that we're being as accurate as we can to the knowledge that the Father has given us, and that we've allowed in. That's another thing. Sometimes He's speaking to you, trying to get you to learn something, and you're just like, "What'd you say, God?" So.
Well, part of that is pre-programming. Once we have been programmed that a certain thing is fact, it's hard to undo that. It's hard to see it any other way, and boy, do we run into that a lot.
Well, this topic that we're doing tonight, guys, this is part 3 of the case for Yehovah. Listen, again, the trigger alert. These are going to be some very sensitive topics, but we are not sacred namers. I'll probably start the video like that and end the video with the same thing. We believe that the name, the name, how you pronounce the tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He, is Yehovah. We believe there's a lot of evidence for that, and that hence the reason for the series that we're doing. This is part 3. We may do 6 or 7 parts. We were talking about that right before the broadcast began, because we're trying to lay out exactly how we put them all out. But 6 or 7 parts to it, guys. And listen, this is it could just as well be 60 parts. There's a lot to this.
Yeah. And
we're trying not to, like tonight, we're going to be talking about the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the Vav. Is it pronounced Vav, or is it pronounced Wa, or Wow, or Wu? There's all kinds of debate on that. And so what we want to do tonight, we're actually going to present some of both sides. We're going to present some for the Vav, some for the Wa, and we're going to kind of just dig back through history and try to go back as far as we can and see what's going on, not only linguistically but historically, according to the ancient documents and writings that we do have. So I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be very, very fascinating. Guys, some of it's grammar. A lot of tonight is grammar and history of grammar. So I know,
exciting times.
This is not one of the, what's the matter? Glory to God! It's not one of those kind of messages type thing tonight. But it's a very solid teaching. I think that you'll really enjoy it. Do we have any kind of announcements or anything going on? No?
I don't think so.
We just got our little puppy here. I don't know if you guys can see. You can see a little bit of her, but she had a little bit of an issue. Shalom, Lynn Hobbs. Hallelujah. Good to see you. Glad you're here. And Kinsley had a little run-in. We try not to get on the V word. Gosh, I don't even know if I say...
Pokey pokey.
Yeah, the pokey pokey word for a rabies shot. I don't even want to say the V word so we don't get taken off the air by YouTube thinking that we're talking about something else. But she...
Yeah, as if we had freedom of speech or something.
Yeah, who would have thought that?
Yeah,
So she had a V word for rabies,
which I
Sunday.
Despise having to do.
Yeah.
But you can't get her nails trimmed. You can't take her camping with you.
Yeah,
or anything like that without having pokey pokey.
Yeah, you have to have the pokey pokey. We won't say the V word. And and she had this V word last year, and had no issue. This year, she about 45 minutes maybe. Mm-hmm. She started getting whelps all on her head real bad, just breaking out real bad. All
different sizes, and her eyes started swelling up.
Eyes were starting to swell out of their sockets, all kind of.
She was crying and rubbing her face on the floor.
She kept flipping over back. Yeah.
She had blood coming down her right side.
Yeah, because she'd scratched so much. So it was kind of traumatic.
It was very traumatic. Horrible experience.
We got her to the emergency vet, got her taken care of, and she's doing better now. But guys, listen, we're living in some topsy-turvy times. So let's we'll get into that tonight. Tonight, part 3, guys. The case for Yehovah. Before we begin, let's just pray real quick and ask the Father to lead and guide and direct us, open our hearts up. Father Yehovah, we just come before you in the name of Yeshua, your dear Son Jesus. And we just ask that you open our eyes and our ears to your word. Open us up, Father God, to see the greatness in your glory, to see the greatness in your name. And we thank you, Father. We hallow your name. We set it apart. And we give you the glory. And we thank you for everything you're doing for us. You've given us a life, everything that we need for life and godliness. We thank you for healing and health. We thank you for wisdom and prosperity. We thank you for direction. We thank you for building a hedge of protection around us to kind of poke us back into the direction that we're supposed to go. We thank you for your shepherd's hook as you bring us back from places that we should not be. And Father, we thank you for all these things in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Praise Yah. All right, well let's get in this. All right, guys. I'm excited. We have been, we've been doing the Hebrew classes, and oh my gosh, I'm just learning more and more and more. And it's very interesting as you're learning Hebrew, you start seeing, well, okay, some of these things line up with some people, and some of the things that you're learning from the Hebrew University are not lining up with some things that are said by other teachers. And so you have to kind of start really digging into that. Okay, it's a college. Maybe they're, it's a university. Maybe they're just teaching what they want to teach and what they've taught for all these years. Same argument that we have with seminaries. But when you go back and you look at the documentation and the case histories and all the ancient documents that we have available, you really start seeing that what they're teaching in the Hebrew University is pretty good. All right, so guys, here we go. Case of Yehovah. Let me Hey, look here, guys. I have a pointer tonight. Look at that. Look at the beauty of that pointer. All right, guys. Here we go. Case of Yehovah, part 3. We're going to be dealing with this, guys. This is the Hebrew letter Vav. All right. But the big question tonight, is it a Vav or is it a Wah? So we know, Miranda, we know in the let's go and click this. We're diving into a study tonight. Ancient Hebrew. We're going to be looking at the language. We're going to be trying to determine how they pronounce this language, how they pronounce this letter. Miranda, we don't have a time machine. How cool was it, if maybe Doc Brown was here, Marty McFly, and we could pop in the DeLorean, right, and punch it up to 88 miles an hour and go back, right? Go back to, maybe let's say King David's time, or Ezekiel's time, or Jeremiah's time, or Moses' time, and listen, because we don't have tape recordings of them back then, right? And so it would be great if we could listen to those things, but we don't have that. So the best that we can do is we can look at ancient documents, right? We can look at studies that modern people have done, right? When I say modern, I mean relatively modern. We'll get into that. And then try to see if there's evidence in the writings, not only just biblical Hebrew writings, but writings between rabbis, writings, there's all kinds of poetry, there's all kinds of things that we could look at. And they can go back, let's dive into that tonight, all right? Hallelujah. Vav or a Wah. So how is this important, Miranda? When we first met, right, I was of the opinion that the Tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He, 6,827 times at least in the Old Testament. It's everywhere. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yod He Vav He. Well, how do you pronounce that? Well, when I first met you had a beautiful necklace that said Yod He Wah He.
Yes, I did.
So it was you had listened to some teachers, and I'm not. Did I ever dog you out about that?
No, we would tease each other.
Yeah.
Because we both had. We rarely ever
I think
found
we had
anything.
2 things that we disagreed on.
Yeah, 2 things that we disagreed on, which is so unusual.
Yeah.
And so we would tease each other about those things, and I would make jabs and say, well, one day you'll learn the truth, and you'll believe like I do, and then he would tease me with the same thing.
Yeah.
But
just all in good fun.
But eventually, I just got curious as to why, because he never really dove into it very deep. So I was like, okay, convince me. Tell me why you believe what you believe.
Yeah.
And he started going through all this and the documentation and all, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I am clearly wrong.
Well, and I never ever, we would tease things about it, but I never would even talk about it.
No, he wouldn't. And that's why, oh goodness, that's why I was just so curious, because he never really pushed or dug in real deep about why he believed what he believed. So.
And I want to approach everybody tonight with the same thing. Is we're not pushing this on you. We believe this is truth, and there's other teachers out there that believe it's the Wah or the Wah sound. We're just trying to present a case of things that I've researched out, things that I've seen, and the reasons why we believe what we believe.
Yeah.
And once again, guys, another disclaimer: we're not sacred namers. If you want to say Yahweh, if you want to say Yahuwah, if you want to say all these other, that's fine. That's between you and God. And we just want to present what we believe the Father has shown us concerning it, and what we've also seen in historical documents, linguistic proof. And tonight we're dealing with one issue: is it a Vav or is it a Wah? And Miranda, gosh, we're going to spend a whole night on this one little small subject, because is it a Yod He Vav He or a Yod He Wah He? The W right there. And again, don't give me hate mail. I know there's no W in Hebrew, but it's a Wah sound that we're talking about. So, all right, guys, let's dig here a little bit. So we hear comments like this all the time, especially since we started studying for the Hebrew University. I thought you were studying Hebrew, Jeff. Don't you understand? There's no V sound. I get that. And before, probably first or second lesson, I would have probably been well, maybe you're right. But since then, I have learned, and we'll talk about that tonight. There's definitely a V sound in Hebrew. Whether let's take the vav, that letter that we're talking about. Let's take that out of the equation. Whether you're talking about a vav or a soft bet or a vet, and we'll get into that tonight. So some people say, Jeff, I thought you were studying Hebrew. Don't you understand? There's no V sound, so it can't be vav. I get that. People say that. We get a lot of people say that the V sound came from the German influence. There could be some truth to that. There's Yiddish, right? Yiddish is a dialect. It's kind of like a mixture of, all kinds of stuff like Hebrew and German and some Dutch. So it's, Yiddish, and that's like Yid in German means Jew. So that's where Yiddish comes from. So it's like a slang Hebrew, if you will, or something like that. Ebonics for Hebrew. I'm just kidding. But so, and then we get some people that say that the vav sound came from the Ashkenazi Jews, and Ashkenazi is just is a word it's meaning like European. So like the European countries, like Germany, like Italy, different ones like that. And then guys, we get the comments a lot of times. Well, it says on, and you just insert your website, your YouTube page, your Wikipedia. Guys, if your source for learning Hebrew is Wikipedia,
oh dear.
Oh dear, yeah. So it says on, insert your favorite website, YouTube page, Facebook Guru, or whatever, to pronounce it as a wa. So we need to look at not only how these, because there are some scholars. I want to be very clear. There are some scholars that are very hardcore that it's a wa. These are people that have PhDs in their name and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to trivialize anything tonight. I'm just going to present some things. But there are some evidences, Miranda, that we will talk about tonight. That there are proofs, there are facts that at certain times, I
think she wants up here, but she can't get up here if I'm sitting here. I
got you. So there's certain Jews that actually do pronounce the vav as a wa. Mm-hmm. And so we need to recognize that. But let's here she comes. Let's see. She's about to jump.
I'll just move so she can get up here.
Come on. There we go. She's got her bone, and now she's behind you. Wait. All right. Welcome to our Bible study. Here's Kinsley, everybody.
Yep.
There we go.
Little ones.
She has her bone. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to give you the short answer first, guys. I'm not one of these guys that like to do a teaching and wait till the very, very end to tell you what I believe.
Oh, that is so annoying.
I'm going to go ahead and give you what we believe at first. And if you're interested in the facts and the reasons why, you'll hang out. Some people are so narrow-minded they can look through a keyhole with both eyes, and so they don't want to hear anything that's negative against what they believe.
Yeah.
So I challenge you, I encourage you tonight, because I'm on the vav side, guys. I believe that the sound of the vav can be traced back to the time of Ezekiel. That's the 6th century BC, roughly like 500 plus BC. 586, I think. Different time periods in there. We do see evidence for the pronunciation of the wa, but we definitely see that it comes from an Arabic influence. So that's my short answer. Now I'm going to spend the next however many minutes of time going through, and it's not an exhaustive study. You can ask Miranda. Oh my gosh, I was already up on 10 something slides on this, and going through very detailed items. And we wanted to make sure we didn't overwhelm you with stuff. We could literally do 60 slides tonight just on this one topic, the vav or a wa.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of shorten it down. If you guys are really interested in more of this, we can do some more teachings and just maybe do a comment in the comments, or also guys, listen, if you're watching this, go ahead and hit the thumbs up if you're liking what's being taught here. Give us a thumbs up, give us a share. The more of those things that go out, the more our videos are able to go out and help folks and bless them. So if you're enjoying the teachings, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So, all right. So the valves, the sound of the valve can be traced back to the time of Ezekiel. That's pretty far back.
Yes, it is.
We're going to talk about tonight about that. We're also going to talk about the Wa pronunciation came about from Arabic influence. Okay. So the long answer, that's a short answer. Long answer, stick around. All right. So there you go, guys. Listen, if that's all you wanted, it was a short answer, and you're turned off by that, you've only wasted 22 minutes of your life. And Jeff, I believe it's a Wa sound. You can't convince me. I'm going to turn it off. Well, that's your right and your opinion. But listen, I guarantee you, if you'll take some time and listen to the cases that I have, they changed my mind and they changed your mind. I wasn't always on the Vav side. I had grown up saying Yahweh.
Oh.
But if you do away with the Wa, you can't have Yahweh anymore.
Yeah.
So I grew up understanding that God's unpronounceable name, which is a joke, unpronounceable name is really Yahweh. But then when I started seeing that it was actually a Vav, not a Wa, I'm like, well, how do you get Yahweh if you have a Va?
Yeah.
So here we go, guys. Let's start digging into this. All right. How do we? This is kind of a cool question. How do we know how to pronounce anything in Hebrew? Right? How do we know how to pronounce anything in Hebrew? I have something here for you guys. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this is a great little tool. This is showing the Aleph Bet. Aleph is the first Hebrew letter. The Bet is the second. And these are each one of the Hebrew letters that you can go through and look at. And I felt it real important to kind of leave this on here for a little bit. So let's say, how do you know a dalet? Here's a dalet, folks, right here. I'm kind of circling around it. This is Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, or Wa, Zion. We can go all the way. Het. We can go all the way through. I have to get those. My mouth's a little dry. I can't do the guttural sounds, but. How do we know how to pronounce any of these? So here's all the letters. Down here are the vowel pointers. Okay. You'll notice that some of the letters, like this bet and this kaf and this pe, have a dot right in the middle of it. This is a tav. It's got a dot in the middle of it. Miranda, do you remember what that dot's called?
Nagesh.
Dagesh.
Dagesh.
It's called a dagesh, right? The little dot right there is called a dagesh, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But let's click on the next slide here. So, how do we know how to pronounce anything? Well, guys, listen. This is so cool. Back in the mid and late 1800s, okay, back in Germany, a bunch of Christian scholars, they were wanting to kind of make a science out of Hebrew, how to speak it again, okay, because there wasn't a lot of people that were speaking it. There were some, and so these guys began to travel around the world, and they would interview Jews from all over, okay, and so they would attend their synagogues, and they would listen to them read the Torah, or they would listen to them recite prayers, okay, and so they would hand them a piece of paper with some of the some scripture off the Torah on it. And they say, "Can you read this? We want to listen to you read this." And so, as they would speak out the words, let's say they're Barashit, or they're saying some kind of word in the scripture, and they're listening to it, and they're writing down, and they're learning the grammatical rules. They're learning how to pronounce the letters, all of this great stuff. So great work that these German Christian scholars were doing, and they did this all around the world. So, and these guys, listen, again, this is back in the mid to late 1800s. And so for all my people, with good public education, I want to remind you that the internet was not created yet, right? They didn't even really have ways to communicate. Towards the latter part of the 1800s, they started having some, but they didn't have ways to communicate like recordings and stuff. And so the older generation that was being listened to and writing notes with the Jews, they were speaking what their isolated groups. So maybe they were in maybe they were in Germany, okay? Maybe they were speaking some Yiddish, Maybe they were in Italy. Jews were, maybe they were in Italy. Maybe they were in Egypt. There were Jews that were in Egypt. Maybe there were some Jews in Israel, called Palestine at the time. Maybe there were Jews in Morocco, with an Arabic influence. And all, maybe they were all over the place. And so these German scholars were going around, and they were going through and gathering all this knowledge. To me, it was just great. She's getting down on that bone, guys. So, let's just take this resh. This is the reason we know that this resh, okay, I pulled up the letter resh. We know that it has the R sound instead of a like an M sound. What do you remember the Hebrew letter that has the M sound, the M sound? I'm putting Miranda on the spot, guys.
The meme?
The mem, right.
I always want to say it meme.
Yeah, well, it's kind of spelled like that. So, we know that the resh has an R sound instead of like an M sound from the mem, or an N sound like a noon. How do we know that the noon is not really the mem sound? How do we know, anything? How do we know that the bet's, aleph bet, the bet second letter, how do we know it doesn't sound like a resh? Well, we know this because of all the extensive work that was done by these scholars. So hats off to these guys. So that was pretty cool. So this didn't matter if you were a Jew from Lithuania or Yemen, or maybe even the mountains of Kurdistan. Now, you guys have heard of some of these places. But listen, they all pronounced Hebrew the same, right? But when they got to the sixth letter of the alphabet, there was a problem. And that's what we're talking about tonight. You get that little, I wanted to put that little clip in here, that oh no, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're at. We got to a problem with the sixth letter. That's the Vav, that letter we showed you at the very first. Because some people pronounced it, they found two different pronunciation traditions. Say traditions, right? Some Jews pronounce the letter as a V, or like a V in English, and others pronounce it like a W, like a W. And again, I know there's no W in, I understand that. So it's very interesting that we had two different traditions. Pretty much every letter beside it, there's some stuff with the ion, and there's a few little extra but the main controversy is this sixth letter of the alphabet. Is it a V or is it a W? And so we had some people there. So we have as a historic fact in the mid to late 1800s, okay, this is a fact. This is not conjecture, this is a fact. We had some Jews that pronounced the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet as a V, and others pronounced it like a W. Okay? That's a fact. So we're already going back, it's 2020. We're going back 220 years, Miranda. So 220 years ago, we know that there were, it's actually the majority of the Jews pronounced it as a V, and there were others that pronounced it as a W. Let's dig a little into that. So which Jewish communities did the W pronunciation? So we only have five Jewish communities who pronounced it as a W. These were the ones from Yemen, okay? The Baghdadi Jews from southern Iraq, okay? Not the northern ones, but the ones from southern Iraq. The Libyan Jews, okay? The Tunisian Jews, and the Jews of the Atlas Mountains of the southwestern Morocco. So
little small pockets.
Tiny little pockets of these groups, okay? All the rest, okay? So I thought about trying to write out all these, but there's a ton. So All the rest of the Jews pronounced it as a vav, and this is all of the European Jews. Now again, we've got the little small country of Yemen, this little small part of Iraq, the southern part. We have the Tunisian Jews. We have the Atlas Mountain in Morocco, southwestern Morocco. So we have 5 really small communities that preserve the tradition of pronouncing it as a wa, but the rest pronounce it as a vav. We have all the European Jews, right? You've got the ones living in England, okay, the ones living in Scotland. You had Jews up in Scotland, Ireland, okay, Germany, Dutch, all think of everything with Europe. Even getting down into Italy. All these guys pronounced it as a va. The Kurdish Jews from northern Iraq. Okay, so Iraq was kind of a 50-50. You had the northern guys saying it was a va, the southern guys saying it was a wa. Okay, Syrian Jews. Who were the Syrian Jews? Do you understand that Syria, guys? This is the Syrian Jews in that area, in that land. They date back all the way to King David.
Wow.
Okay?
That's impressive.
All the way back to King David, they preserved it as a va. Okay? I find that fascinating. One of the things that we really won't get into tonight is one of the technicalities is that even in some of the 5 that we have in Yemen, the Baghdadi Jews, the Libyan Jews, some of these, that when they're speaking Hebrew, even though they preserve the vav as a wa, when they speak certain Hebrew words, they will still hold to the vav.
So they kind of flip back and forth.
Yeah. So even though we have 5 Jewish communities that hold to it as a wa, some of these 5 at different areas in the Torah. An example, they'll pronounce the word
the name David.
The name David, David. Okay, that's with a va. That's that va sound with the vav. Okay, David. If they were going to say with the wa sound, it would be Dawid. Okay, and some of these 5 communities say David instead of saying Dawid.
Yeah.
So so even though we have 5 of them that save the tradition of the wa, even in that 5, it's kind of flip-floppy a little bit. It's not 100%. All right, so again, Syrian Jews all the way back to King David. We've got the Egyptian Jews, the Persian Jews. Okay, that's around Iran and all that kind of stuff. Of course, the Persian Empire was huge. The rest of the Moroccan Jews. So you got one little tiny sliver of guys here in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco that say wa. The rest of them are va. And then you got the Algerian Jews. So so all over. And I could keep going on and on. But that's what we put. That's what I put here. Let's go. Interesting fact here. Of the 5 Jewish communities that pronounce the va as a wa, all 5 of these communities during the 1800s, when all of this scholarly work was going on, they were all Arabic speakers. Like that was their natural language. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I don't know if everybody kind of gets that. Probably most people don't. Okay, Jeff, what's your point? Right? Here's the point, guys, right here. The Arabic language does not have a V sound. Okay? Do you remember that's one of the things that we get accused of? It's like, Jeff, don't you know the Hebrew language doesn't have a V sound? We get that, right? Okay, well, it does, and we're going to get to that a little bit later, but the Arabic language doesn't have a V sound. Okay? They have a W sound, a wow sound. And so it's very interesting. So when they are in the synagogues again, and they're reading David, they're saying it with a vav, even though in their regular dialect they do not have the v sound, but when they go in and read the Torah, they have the v sound.
That's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So I thought you guys like to have that. So lots of fun stuff. Okay, here we go. Guys, this is Nehemiah Gordon. Right here. He's a Karaite Jew. He is not a Christian. He does not believe that Yeshua is Messiah. although he says he's open to it, I definitely think that he is. But he's a Hebrew scholar. He's studied his life with learning Hebrew and biblical studies all the way through. He's a guy that has worked on the Dead Sea Scrolls as a scholar. We've actually heard him talk about things in the New Testament.
Oh yeah, he has studied very deeply into the New Testament.
Yeah, from a scholarly standpoint, looking at the Hebrew, and so he's not there to discuss theology, but he's there to actually dig in and see what the Hebrew actually says. And I'm just going to read this to you guys because I want to emphasize a few things. But he was doing an interview with Michael Rood. Oh, let me go ahead and click one more time. This is the source for what I'm going to talk about. There's a YouTube video. You guys can go through there. Pop that through, and that'll get you right to the video. But Nehemiah Gordon stated in an interview with Michael Rood, he said, "I was sitting recently with a member of the Academy of Hebrew Languages, at the university." He said, "This is one of the top people in the world when it comes to the Hebrew language." And Nehemiah says, "I asked him," he said, "there are 5 Jewish communities that preserve this wa pronunciation." Okay? And so we've talked about those 5 already. And he said one of them is the Yemenite Jews, and they're the Yemenite Jews, the Libyan Jews, a few other places like that. They're all Arabic speaking. And Nehemiah said, he said to the professor, "Is it possible?" He didn't say, he's not even talking about pronouncing the name or anything like that. He said, "Is it possible that this was influenced by Arabic?" And this professor, this member of the Academy of Hebrew Languages, so he's like really high up in this. He says it's not possible, it's 100% certain that it was influenced by Arabic. So this is one of the top experts in the world. He has no agenda, no axe to grind, and he's actually an Arabic speaker himself. That's pretty profound. I mean, that's not some little YouTube rabbi or some kind of thing going on. This is one of the top experts in the study of the Hebrew language in the world. And when he was asked about the was sound and was it influenced by Arabic, and he's an Arabic speaker himself, native-born Arabic speaker, he said, not only is it possible, it's 100% certain that this was influenced by Arabic. So I think that's just fascinating information there. So I wanted to give that to you guys. So we have proof that the Jews back in the 1800s pronounced it both as a va and a wa. Okay, no arguing with that. This is one of the reasons, Miranda, that we have some scholars, some teachers that will go and they'll say, look, it can go both ways, right? And then so you have some proof. If you go back to the 1800s, 220 years ago, you can say we have definitive proof that it was a va or a wa. Okay, so either answer is right if you go back 220 years. All right, I'm not satisfied there, guys. What else do we have? So we also have scholars saying that the wa sound comes from Arabic. The Arabic language is not Hebrew. I want to say that again. The Arabic language is not Hebrew. We have some proof, some interesting proof that we watched in in a couple documentaries. It's called The Patterns of Evidence, and this one was the case for Moses. I believe that's how it was pronounced. Is that right? The case for Moses writing the Exodus. I forget the exact title. Maybe I'll find it. And I'll link it in the description. So this Tim LaHaye actually goes in. I think it's Tim LaHaye goes in and studies out and looks at the Proto-Phoenician, the Semitic, there's different names for it. Proto-Hebrew, Paleo-Hebrew is another name for it. It's all talking about the same thing. And this guy actually goes back and shows that it was actually the first alphabet was Hebrew. It was a proto form of Hebrew. And he goes through lots of great proof there. So very interesting stuff. Maybe we could look into that one night. But again, it's not Arabic. It's a Proto-Hebrew type thing. And so, but even with that, Arabic is not Hebrew, right?
Right.
Some of the letters are exactly the same, but we shouldn't base our
They call them sister languages.
sister languages. Yeah. So we shouldn't base our pronunciation of Hebrew according to the rules of Arabic, right?
Right.
That would be like if we took French. You took French in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we were to try to take the French pronunciation rules and apply it to English? That kind of get messed up,
Yeah.
right? Same thing like if you did German to English. You know, I think we were listening to something the other day, and we know the word for sun is Sohn in German, and it's got an H in there, right? Well, English doesn't have an H, but should we pronounce son as Sohn?
Right.
You know that. Well, it's the same word. It doesn't have the H, but it's pronounced the same. And so maybe we're saying son wrong. Maybe we should be calling it Sohn, right? That's kind of the logic behind using Arabic to define Hebrew. It just doesn't work, guys.
Right.
Hebrew is its own language. Okay. Do they share some things? Absolutely, but it's a sister language. It doesn't match all the way. Okay. Do we have anything historic going back further, guys? Crank up the DeLorean. Let's go back a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go back. All right. Now, guys, bear with me. I love you, and I know that this is going to be thrilling for you the next. But we need to study on some Hebrew letters. So to get this next point, I really need you to listen like you had 6 sets of ears. Watch real closely. This is the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It is the letter bet. Everybody say bet.
Bet.
Bet. It is known as let me lick my lips here. It is known as a plosive letter. Okay? Plosive. Say the word plosive.
Plosive.
So when you say plosive, you got you feel the air exploding from your lips when it's spoken. Plosive. That's where we actually get the word explosive. Plosive. So it's that exploding, and so it is signified on the letter bet with this dagesh. Remember we talked about the dagesh. So if you see this letter in Hebrew with a dagesh, you know that it is a plosive letter. So it should, like in this case, it's a B sound. Ba, ba. So that ba, it's coming out. It's plosive. Okay. So we understand that is indeed a bet, the second letter. All right. And then this is the next. Here we go. This is a different letter. This is the letter vet. Say vet.
Vet.
Okay, some people when they teach Hebrew, they don't call it the vet, they call it a soft bet. Okay? So either one is the same. And so we'll refer to both. We'll refer to it as a bet or a soft bet. Okay? It looks exactly like the last letter, except for it doesn't have the dagesh. You can see my cursor, my little laser pointer is in there. It's a place of a dagesh. It doesn't have a dagesh, and so this is known as a fricative letter. Say fricative.
Fricative.
You guys are learning some Hebrew tonight. So this is a fricative letter, and literally it's talking about friction. Okay, so literally you're putting your lips together, and then you're forcing the air out with friction. And so before it was plosive, a ba, and it's ba. This is a fricative letter, and it's va, va, va. So you feel the vibration when you're speaking this letter out as a fricative letter. Does that make sense? So say
Yep.
vet.
Vet.
Vet. Okay, so there we go. So again this so I think I make this point here in a minute, but this is the bet having a B sound. This is the vet having the V, the bet having the B sound. This is the bottom here is the vet having the V sound. Now, guys, we're not talking about the Vav right now. We'll get back to the Vav in a minute. I'm trying to show you something here. For all my homies that argue about that there's no Hebrew sound with a V, they clearly do not understand Hebrew. because this is, no one argues this. No Hebrew scholar argues about the bet and the vet, or a soft bet, however you want to pronounce, however you want to say the letter, whether you say, what do you call it, a vet or a soft bet. It has the V sound. So this letter has the B sound. This letter has the V sound. So Jeff, what's the deal with that? Well, this is the strongest case, guys, that we have for the Vav being pronounced as a V, and this dates all the way back to Ezekiel, roughly around 586, 583 BC. Okay, so that's almost 600 years, guys, before Yeshua being born. So this is going way. So before we were at the 1800s.
Yeah.
There's things that we could talk about with some poetry issues. There was a poet that wrote something in the timeline of about, I believe it was 500 A.D. And he wrote this great poem, and the Jews actually use this as a prayer. Okay, and in this poem, he's got all these rhyming things, and most of the time in the v's, he's using the soft bet or the vet letter that we just showed. Okay, but then at the end, towards the end of it, he rhymes it with a couple words that have a vav. Okay, and so it wouldn't make much sense to go we. It wouldn't. That's not good rhyming, right?
Yeah.
It was and one of the rhymes was the word, what we say in English is Levi, okay, in Hebrew. That's the Levites, right? The priest, the priest tribe, right? Aaron was a member. Moses was a member. The tribe of Levi, and that's spelled with a vav. Okay, this vav symbol that we have right here. All right. Well, the letter that in this poem that it was rhyming with, the word it was rhyming with, was Navi. Do you know what the word Navi means?
No.
Prophet. So it was rhyming these two words. It was rhyming Lavi with Navi. Navi has what we call a vet or a soft bet, clearly a v sound. So it's va Lavi, Navi.
There we
go. So again, it's all this va, but the strongest case again, and that goes back to that's interesting. Let me rewind a little bit on that. So fun on that with the poet thing. As he's rhyming all of these vas, this is about 400, 500 AD. You get up into 700 AD. There's an Arabic rabbi, a Jew. He speaks Arabic, and he starts out a criticism of this poet that was a couple hundred years back, and he's like, "Doesn't this guy know how to speak Hebrew?" He had like an accent. He said, "How can he try to rhyme Lewi?" Because he was pronouncing Levi as Lewi.
Yeah.
How can he rhyme Lewi with Navi? That doesn't make any sense. This guy clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, he really did. He just wasn't influenced by Arabic.
Right.
So that's getting back. We were 1800. Now we're back into the 400, 500 AD range. All right, let's just there's all kinds of stuff I'm telling you, I could do 60 slides on this, but I think you're getting the point. We go back to Ezekiel's time, 586 BC time, and this is the strongest case for the V, for the vav being a V sound. This is a rendition of what someone thinks that Ezekiel looked like anyway. But let's just kind of go through this. There's a word in his writings, in Ezekiel's writings, that he writes with a vav. And then sometimes he writes it with a vet, a soft bet. Which again, every Jewish community agrees that the vet or the soft bet has a V sound. That's the proper way to pronounce that. It's a V sound. So the word in question is gav. Say gav.
Gav.
It means back. Okay. So if you were to write this today, it would be Gimel Vav, or you could write it Gimel Vet. Okay. the two Hebrew consonants to form that. So this word Gav, sometimes in Ezekiel, it is written with a vet in his scroll that he wrote.
Yeah.
But then other times he actually writes it with a bet with no dagesh, which is a vet. So sometimes he writes it with a vet, and then sometimes he writes it with this vav right here. So the fact that Gav could be written with a vav or a soft a vet or a soft vet makes you understand that word is pronounced how?
It has the same.
It's Gav. So
it has the same pronunciation. And if you're having a hard time following that, it's the same with my dad's name, Stephen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will have the V sound, or it has the V sound throughout. But sometimes it's spelled with the V, and sometimes it's spelled with the PH.
Yeah. So that's a great illustration in English.
And then you get some words having the PH sound, and it sounds like the F sound.
Right. Yeah. So we do have some things that are very similar in English. So guys, listen, this is going back again. Strongest case that we have for the vav being a V sound goes all the way back to Ezekiel's time. Okay, we have words gav, written with a vet or a vav. There's a couple instances we could talk about that's in 1 Kings, same thing. Okay, there's other cases that we could go through with different writings, different Jewish writings with the Mishnah, with different things that you can look at, writings between different rabbis, and when the idea is that we do have evidence. Again, we do have evidence of the va and the wa going back as far as the 1800s AD. Okay, the 19th century. We have that. However, we don't have any really good evidence dating back to around the time of Ezekiel of the wa at all. We don't have that.
Yeah.
We do have some scholars who will theorize, and they'll postulate that it was a wa sound, and they'll say, well, it had to be a wa sound because of Arabic. Well, no, it didn't have to be a wa sound. Arabic doesn't even have a va, so you can't base it off of that. We have linguistic proof here of the vav being a va sound, all the way back to the time of Ezekiel. We don't have any textual proof like that where it shows up as a wa. Now listen, guys, if you can provide that for me, great. Put me a link in the description. If it's a video, please, I don't want to have to watch the entire thing because I have studied out the wa sound. But if there's some historical things that we can go and look at that support the wa that's around or before the time of Ezekiel, then we can open it back up again, and I would be open back up to listening to that. But as it stands right now, we don't have any textual proof of the va being a wa sound. When we go back, we keep going back in time in Hebrew. It's not until some of the modern era that we see the influences of Arabic coming in and distorting the Hebrew language. Just like we have, okay, guys, look, what about like English, right? If you go over to England, hello,
No.
you go and we'll want some tea and crumpets or something, or whatever. They have a different dialect. I mean, we like to watch sometimes. There's a British the Sherlock Holmes thing or something like that. We watch some of those. Sometimes I can't understand a word they're saying because there's
so many different accents just within.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You watch Doctor Who, guys. Good luck understanding everything there without an interpreter. So, and they're speaking, they're speaking English, right? And they look at us like you guys are killing English. We're looking at them like you're killing English. It's just we have a different point of view on that.
I like their English better.
Yeah. So, same thing here, guys. We see the influence of time changing things and morphing the sounds of things.
Oh,
But
just look at the King James Bible. Look how different that is compared to the English we speak today.
give an example of that. I think that's excellent. That's a great example.
Well, I wish I had. I have an old Bible.
Yeah.
And it's got like English from like 1500s.
Yeah.
And it's
like
not. It's like another language.
It is.
Everything is spelled and pronounced differently.
Very
There are
different.
words that we do not have today.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way they actually spell some of the words is just it's very difficult to read. So the same thing, we see a morphing of the languages, and then the further you get into modernia, modern times, you start seeing the more heavy influence of Arabic onto Hebrew. And so what we've done is we've popped it in reverse and hit the clutch, and we're going backwards in time. And we're seeing the further you go back, the less and less, and then to no evidence of it being a "wa" sound at all. Is there some evidence for it being a "wa"? Yes. If you hang out around about 700 A.D., the 800, 900 A.D., there's some evidence. Go all the way up into the 1880s, there's some evidence. But the further you go back in time, you lose the "wa." And it's just not there. And if you can provide some textual proofs like we've provided tonight showing that there is a "was" sound, I'm open to listening to that. But to me, I haven't found any. This is kind of this was a big case closed on Yahweh for me. Because if you go back further and further and further, there's just no "was" sound. Because some people argue, well, it was the Germans who had the "va" sound, and they influenced with Yiddish. They influenced all the Jews all over the world. Well, no, they really didn't, because if the further you go back, the "was" just not there.
Yeah.
So that's you can't get around the historic facts of that. If you have something, bring it up, pop it in the comments, shoot me a message. I'm definitely open to listening, but to me, this is one of the big things that was kind of a case closed for me. So there is so much on this topic, guys. We've only barely brushed the surface of it. Again, I could probably do 60 or 70 slides and just detail and go through a lot of things. But tonight I've given you some proofs where modern scholars maintain the "was" sound. Okay. But we've also given you solid evidence dating back thousands of years showing that the "vav" is a "va" sound. Again, we're not sacred namers. I think we started that with the message. We're ending that with the message. But if you still want to pronounce something with a "was" sound, that's fine. I'll still have fellowship. We'll still have fellowship with you. We have people that we like to watch and listen to that say Yahuwah. We have people that say Yahweh. We say Yehovah. We're okay with that. We understand what they're meaning. We understand they're talking about the tetragrammaton. They are doing the best that they've been given and understanding that they have. We're doing the best with what we have. Again, if you want to pronounce it with some kind of "was" sound, that's fine. We'll still have fellowship with you. I just believe if you've listened to this and you've studied this out, that you're just ignoring the textual and historical evidence for the "vav" being a "v" sound. I challenge you, go back. Listen, if you kind of made your mind up maybe 10 years ago or something like that, well, there's new evidence that's been coming forward, and if your belief isn't lined up with the latest textual, historical, documented evidence, then you need to maybe re-examine some things. Again, I don't think this is something that'll hinder your prayers. I don't think this will send you to hell because you're saying Yahuwah or Yahweh or whatever. I think, but we are talking about this tonight because I believe it's important for us to be able to try to pronounce His name to the best of our knowledge. We'll definitely be corrected when Yeshua shows up and we step off into eternity. But from what we're seeing so far, this is the case. This is part 3, guys. The case of Yehovah. Hope that you enjoyed it tonight. If you have some questions or something like that, pop them in the comments. Maybe something we said tonight wasn't super clear. We'll be happy to get back with you. If you've enjoyed it tonight, hit that like button, and then hit the share button. Share this on the social media that you're on. Share it on Facebook. Share it on MeWe. Share it on all kind of stuff. Share it on Grubhub. I'm just kidding. But
Oh goodness.
so, I think it's very interesting, very good for us to study into, and I'm just loving it because we're actually being able to share things that we're learning right now from the Hebrew University. Again, I'm not going to a German university to learn Hebrew. I'm going to Hebrew-speaking people in Israel to learn how to speak Hebrew. I like to give the illustration. I'm not driving to New York to learn how to barbecue. I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
We learn how to do barbecue in Texas, right? They have some great food up in New York. Listen, they really do. But barbecue is not their thing. That's a it's a Texas thing or a Kansas City or a Carolina thing. There's some good barbecue there, not as good as Texas, but it's good barbecue there. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. Do you have anything else before we sign off?
I know this can be a little difficult to understand. It's a lot to
You may have to listen to it a
take
couple
in.
times.
Yeah, you might. And language is complicated. Languages are always evolving. I mean, we can think of words that today mean something completely different than they meant 30 years ago.
Right.
Other languages are influencing English.
Sure.
I mean, look at there are French words that we as English speakers use every day. Fiancé.
Right.
Resume.
Yep.
These are words that we've just adopted and
French fry.
not quite. Not quite. I always think it's funny though. We've got brands, French brands. There's a lot of French brands.
Yeah.
That Americans butcher. And we don't say them at all, even close to right.
I'm probably one of them. Tell me one of them that we...
Well, just right off the top. And I have the horrible English accent, so forgive it. But Christian Louis Vuitton. That's how we say that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Christian Louboutin.
Louboutin?
Louboutin.
Oh my gosh, I've been killing that, guys.
Yeah. And I kill it too because my accent is horrible. But yeah, we just adopt things into, we make it our own. And
yeah.
Well, there are words that Jeff says differently because he's from Texas.
Oh yeah.
Than how we say them up here. And
so like if we're if you have a bunch of cold drinks that you want to put on ice and carry them with you, you carry them in a cooler.
Cooler.
Yeah.
I always thought it was so cute how he said that.
I think I was 19 years old before I found out that there was no such word as tump. I told you that.
Yeah.
So what is tump? So you have something, standing up on the table and you knock it over. What'd you do? You just tumped it. I tumped that over. I was 19 years old before I found out that was not an English word. So we have language can be difficult. I think that was your point.
Yeah, and it's always changing. It's always being influenced by other languages. And just look at the slang that has popped up just in the past 10 years.
Yep.
Slang words that I can't even keep up with how everything is morphing. And especially now with texting, a whole new language is coming out.
So no joke, today I'm leaving work. I had to go and get something and come right back. And I'm walking out of the office area out into the lobby, and I tell Cindy, the front desk staff, I said, BRB.
Oh my goodness.
Just said BRB.
Oh my goodness.
There we go. Me and my big tech self. Yeah.
Well, just think about it. 10 years ago, if somebody would have said YOLO.
Yeah.
You'd have been like, what?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Lynn Hobbs said pecan or pecan.
Okay, yes. Yes. So that's one that he likes to make fun of me for.
How do you say it, baby?
Pecan.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. We have fun.
It's fun. We have a good time.
Yeah.
Say roof.
Rough.
I love it.
Yeah. I didn't realize that because he was laughing about it, and I said it. I was like, I don't say it funny, and then I said it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I guess I do say it funny.
Yeah.
I've just never really listened to myself.
Yep. And so she's been getting me on cooler, and we put something in the cooler, and not only or do you think that's funny, all of my coworkers think it's hilarious that I say that. But then we went down. I was helping at a property in Ironton, Ohio. Listen, that gets out in the sticks, right?
Mm.
And the manager there was she's an older lady, and she's from Kentucky. She says cooler too. I'm like, yeah.
I heard somebody on
Rock on. There we go.
Somebody on YouTube said it that way, and I was like, oh hey.
So guys, there we go. The case for Yehovah, guys, part 3. Share this with your friends and your social media. Let people watch this. You know, a lot of times you'll see someone spouting off, and they'll be throwing out different things. And I encourage you to share this video, not in a gotcha kind of way. We're not about that.
No,
but
we're just here to have fun.
We're here to have some fun and present some very solid scholarly work, some historical facts that you can't ignore. You know, if you may want to hold on to the was sound, and that's fine, but the historic and textual evidence that we have supports the vav going all the way back to the time of Ezekiel. Listen, if you've got proof again of something else, share it. We'll be happy to look into it. Yeah, so far we haven't seen any, I've studied this. I've studied this for a long time, and I held off a long time for coming out with any of this stuff too.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I kind of had that green light to go ahead and start talking about it. So we are.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, listen, be praying for us. We've been kind of going through some things, and we just need to have some prayer. And we'd love you to do that. But we love you guys, enjoy you guys, appreciate you supporting us, and we will talk to you next time. Next time will be part 4, right?
We're trucking right along.
Yeah, part 4. Gosh, I'm trying to remember what part 4 was. Here, let me go back up. Here we go all the way. Well, how do we do that? Let's exit, and then we'll go. Let's see. I'll scroll up, guys. All my stuff. Here we go. Part 4. Yeho and Yah. There we go. That's what part 4 is going to be about. Yeho and Yah. We're going to get into compound names, people. Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. So, guys, we love you. We appreciate your prayers, your support, and we will see you next time. Shalom. Bye-bye.
Bye.